Right now, sitting in your kitchen, there are items you use every single day without a second thought. A pot, a pan, a cutting board. But after watching this video, you will never reach for them the same way again. Because the science is clear. Certain everyday kitchen tools, through years of quiet, repeated use, may be accelerating the aging of your brain, through a process that begins long before any symptom is felt. Before naming the specific items, you need to understand one foundational fact. Your brain consumes roughly 20% of your total blood flow. Despite accounting for only about 2% of your body weight, that means toxic substances traveling through your bloodstream have a disproportionately large opportunity to reach and affect brain tissue. A study published in a leading neurotoxicology journal found that heavy metal accumulation in the aging brain triggers damage through 3 distinct pathways: mitochondrial dysfunction, disruption of calcium balance inside neurons, and chronic neuroinflammation. These 3 damage mechanisms overlap substantially with the disease pathways seen in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and ALS. The danger is not a single large exposure. It is low-level, daily, repeated exposure over years and decades. And the most consistent daily source of that exposure, for many people, is the kitchen. The first item is aluminum cookware and aluminum foil. Aluminum is the 3rd most abundant element in the Earth's crust. Lightweight and excellent at conducting heat, which is why it dominates cookware manufacturing worldwide. The problem is that aluminum leaches into food, and the rate of leaching accelerates sharply in acidic cooking conditions. A peer-reviewed study on aluminum contamination during culinary preparation found that cooking tomato sauce in aluminum vessels released up to 4.9 milligrams of aluminum per 100 grams of food. When lemon juice was added, that figure climbed to 5.1 milligrams per 100 grams. Wrapping acidic foods in aluminum foil before baking or steaming also produces significant leaching. International food safety authorities have established a tolerable weekly intake of 1 milligram of aluminum per kilogram of body weight. For a 150-pound adult, that is approximately 68 milligrams per week. Research estimates that daily use of aluminum cookware can drive dietary aluminum exposure to between 0.2 and 1.5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight weekly, which approaches or exceeds that limit before other exposure sources, such as certain food additives, antacids, or deodorants, are even counted. The critical question is whether ingested aluminum reaches the brain. The current science is still debating full causation, but several findings are significant. Approximately 0.3% of orally ingested aluminum is absorbed through the gastrointestinal tract into the bloodstream. Healthy kidneys eliminate most of it, but when kidney function is compromised, aluminum accumulates in organs including the brain. Multiple studies have detected significantly elevated aluminum concentrations in the damaged brain tissue of Alzheimer's patients compared to healthy controls. A study published in a leading neurological research journal found that aluminum promotes the hyperphosphorylation of tau protein and accelerates aggregation of beta amyloid, the 2 hallmark toxic proteins in Alzheimer's disease. Large-scale epidemiological research has also found elevated Alzheimer's risk in populations with higher dietary and environmental aluminum exposure. The body of evidence is not yet definitive proof of direct causation, but it is substantial enough that precaution is entirely rational. The second item is a scratched or damaged nonstick pan. Nonstick coatings based on polytetrafluoroethylene are found in the majority of frying pans in modern homes worldwide. When these coatings are intact, the risk is low. When they are scratched, the situation changes dramatically. 2 distinct dangers emerge. The first is the release of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, known as PFAs or forever chemicals. PFAs are engineered to resist breakdown in nature and in the human body, and they accumulate over time. A study published in a leading environmental health journal found that PFAs can cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate directly in neuronal tissue. A pilot study published in 2025 measured PFAs concentrations in the cerebrospinal fluid of patients with cognitive impairment and found significantly elevated levels compared to healthy controls, providing direct evidence that these chemicals reach the fluid surrounding the brain. Research published in a peer-reviewed journal identifies lipid metabolism, disruption and vascular inflammation as the proposed pathways by which PFAs impair cognitive function, alongside possible direct neurotoxic effects on neurons. The second danger is microplastic release. A study published in a leading environmental science journal found that a single 5 cm scratch on a nonstick pan can release approximately 2.3 million microplastic and nanoplastic particles. These particles enter the body through food, circulate through the bloodstream. And emerging research shows that the smallest of these particles can penetrate the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in brain tissue, triggering neuroinflammation and disrupting normal neuronal signaling. Heating an empty nonstick pan above 260 degrees Celsius causes coating breakdown and releases toxic gases into indoor air, adding an inhalation exposure route on top of the dietary one. The third item is the plastic cutting board. Many households use plastic cutting boards because they seem hygienic and easy to clean, but a study published in a leading environmental science journal calculated that annual microplastic exposure from using a polyethylene cutting board can reach between 7.4 and 50.7 grams per person per year. Polypropylene boards showed a similar estimate of approximately 49.5 grams annually. The same study found that a single cutting action can release more than 1,114 individual microplastic particles directly onto the food surface. Older boards with deep knife grooves release considerably more. Once ingested, nanoscale plastic particles can cross the intestinal lining, enter the bloodstream, and reach the brain. They carry with them chemical additives from the plastic manufacturing process, including plasticizers and stabilizers, which can exert their own neurotoxic effects. The grooves in old plastic boards also harbor bacteria that regular washing cannot fully eliminate, adding food safety risks on top of the chemical exposure concern. Here are your 3 replacement protocols to implement immediately. The first practical change is replacing aluminum cookware with stainless steel or enamel-coated cast iron pots. Stainless steel does not react with acidic foods and releases no aluminum. For any recipe involving kimchi, fermented pastes, tomatoes, or citrus, this swap is non-negotiable. Never store food in aluminum pots or in aluminum foil. Transfer cooked food immediately to glass or ceramic containers. Replace aluminum foil in the oven with glass baking dishes or silicone baking mats. The second practical change is replacing damaged nonstick pans. Any pan with visible scratches, peeling, or discoloration on the coating should be discarded immediately. Replace with well-seasoned cast iron, stainless steel, or lead-free ceramic-coated pans. Use only wooden or silicone utensils on any coated surface. Never preheat an empty pan on high heat. Cast iron requires seasoning and takes some adjustment, but it lasts decades. Adds trace dietary iron and carries none of the PFAS concerns. The third practical change is switching to wooden, bamboo, or composite non-plastic cutting boards. Wood and bamboo boards produce no microplastic particles during cutting. Wash and dry them immediately after use to prevent bacterial growth. Replace deeply grooved boards regularly regardless of material. If you prefer easy maintenance, a thick stainless steel board is also a safe option. Your 7-day plan works as follows. On day 1, inspect all 3 categories of kitchen tools, and immediately stop using any pan with visible coating damage. On day 2, move any food stored in aluminum containers to glass. On day 3, purchase a stainless steel pot for daily soup and stew cooking. From day 4 onward, use only the new pot for all acidic cooking. On day 5, replace your plastic cutting board with wood or bamboo. On day 6, replace metal spatulas and ladles with wooden or silicone versions. On day 7, review your full kitchen and build a priority list for remaining swaps over the coming weeks. One important final note: the content in this video is health information, not medical diagnosis or treatment. The scientific debate on direct causation between these kitchen materials and brain disease is ongoing. However, precautionary action in the face of substantial and growing evidence is rational, especially for older adults, those with kidney conditions, and anyone with a family history of neurodegeneration. If you have specific health concerns, please consult your physician. The most powerful thing about the risks discussed today is that they are entirely within your control to reduce. Your kitchen is where your brain's future is quietly being shaped, one meal at a time.